So you might want to keep this chart handy, the mind-body Cartesian dualism chart, because all the other philosophers in the modern period are going to have to deal with Descartes' issue before they can make their own progressive philosophy. He kind of got us in this knot, this Gordian knot of philosophy that we haven't been able to extract ourselves from. So people use different techniques. It's Baruch Spinoza. And Spinoza was a Jewish philosopher, and his family had fled Spain after the Reconquista. If you remember, in 1492, part of why Columbus was able to get the backing of the Spanish crown was they had finally driven the Moors, or the Muslims, out of Spain. And with that conquest of the Catholic kingdoms of Castile and Leon, driving the Moors out, they gave them a choice. You could either flee, convert, or die. Those were your three options for Muslims and for Jews. So Spinoza's family did not want to convert, and they didn't want to die, so they moved to Amsterdam, which, like today, was a free thought city. And he was brought up in the Jewish community where he learned the Old Testament scriptures, but because of the Dutch, he was also introduced to Christianity and Jesus in the New Testament. And his solution to this problem was to go back to the medieval scholastics and the Shema, which, if you're familiar, in Deuteronomy 6 says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one." And he took this very literally. And so what he's saying is, God is one, the only one. He is the totality of reality. But this one being, this singular substance that the whole universe is comprised of, has infinite modes. We as humans are aware of two of them, thought and extension, or mind and body. But what Spinoza is saying is, these are just two ways of talking about the same thing. And there's all these other ways God can express himself that we're not even aware of as humans. These are the only two we know of, but God has infinite modes of expressions. And so, for example, Spinoza is incredibly comfortable talking about either God or nature, or God or the universe, because there is only one thing, one place, one event. It's all contained in this one. It's like all the way back to Parmenides, right? But now it can be a spiritual one or a physical one. It doesn't matter. It's just two different ways of talking about the same thing. And let me give you an example. He actually has really helped me with the whole free will predestination argument. So think about this morning. All the choices you made to get here to this classroom. And now you're sitting here in your desk, about to leave the room in just a matter of minutes, and there's all these choices, all these potential. You could stay in your chair. You could go out the back door. You could go out the front door. You could go right. You could go left. All these different things you could do. But 10 minutes after I dismiss class, you'll look back and it will be this, because only one of those potential things will happen. There's only one actual event, time and place, but there's infinite potential. So with the free will predestination piece, we as humans in our perspective are always sitting right here looking into the potential of the future, but God always sees this. But it's the same thing. It's just two different ways of talking about the same thing because only one event ever happens. Fascinating. But this is pantheism now. There is no difference between God and nature. You can talk about the universe or you can talk about God because it's really just the same thing. In fact, they called Spinoza the God-saturated man because he's a mode of God's existence. His thoughts are one way God expresses himself, and his physical body is another way God expresses himself. And God has synced our thoughts and bodies together so that they work in harmony. And we will continue this journey with Leibniz on Thursday. All right, thank you.